What's up, everybody? Hey, it's Jason, and I'm coming to you live from Japan, where I'm finally settled in, and I've got all of my streaming set up, I guess set up, albeit very compact and closed. Not having 16-foot ceilings above me and 600 square feet to work with has proven to be quite challenging with all the stuff that I had set up previously to make these streams awesome. So this is my first one, and I'm going to have a lot of lessons learned and things that I'm going to have to tweak and adjust later because I'm not a fan right now. It took way too long to get set up, and that can be quite discouraging when you want to stream. You don't want to be messing around with the setup when you just want to get on, build something, play a game or whatever, and just do it on the interwebs with you guys. So that being said, it is what it is. Japan, everything is small, and we have to adapt and overcome. No big deal. So hopefully I got everything set up properly, and you guys can see me and hear me, more importantly, because today we're going to install the Qanba Obsidian Easy Mod I designed with the Brook Universal Fighting Board. So that is the plan. Hopefully it goes well. You can pick up the Easy Mod from arcadeshock.com. They have the entire kit, and it shows up. You put it in, and voila, your Obsidian is just much, much better than it was from the factory. So I guess with that, we'll take a look at the chat, and I think, yeah, everyone says they can hear me, so that's good. Awesome. I hope the quality's good. My internet's not as fast as it was in the States. We're still working on getting the gigabit fiber installed, so I hope it's streaming out at 1080. Fingers crossed, and I hope all my neighbors decide they don't want to stream Netflix and cause the bandwidth to go down. So Necros in the chat, yes, thank you for telling me it sounds good, and yes, Arcade Shock storefront is open. They're located in Torrance. I don't know that I have the address right off the top of my head, but you can go pick up stuff from them directly, and here shortly, as soon as they kind of get everything ironed out, going solely from an online to a hybrid online and walk-up shop, we'll try and get Panzers available for pickup so that you can go, pick up all your buttons and levers, pick up your Panzer kit, walk out, and save some money on shipping. There'll still be a little bit of charge for pickup because there's still a lot of packaging I want to make sure those guys put in the box to keep your stuff safe, but paying $5 or $6 is a lot better than paying $20 or $30 to ship it an hour down the road. So, in any case, that is neither here nor there. We are here to show off the Qanba Easy Mod install, so let's go ahead and get started there. And we're going to shift over to this. Alright, so here is a Qanba Obsidian fight stick that Arcade Shock sent me. It is, they previously modded it, obviously, with these two-tone buttons and updated ball top and such. So there you go. What you're going to need is you are going to need a Qanba Obsidian fight stick. If you already have it, then good to go. We're going to set this off to the side. But when you order the Easy Mod, you're going to get a couple of things in your kit. You're first going to get this. This is kind of the brain, if you will, of the Easy Mod that makes it easy to install. And then you are going to get these wires in this package of wires here. If we pull them out, you will also, so here's the wires, and then you're going to get some hardware here, and this will all make a lot more sense here momentarily. Basically, these are kind of just standoffs that you're going to use to mate some stuff together, and some screws to hold it in place, and all that good stuff. And then you are going to get the Universal Fight Board here. This is going to be pre-soldered. Again, no need to worry about making this difficult. You'll pop it in, and voila, simple. And then finally, I was not prepared because I forgot about this part. You're going to get the second part of the Easy Mod board set up. Hold on, there we go. And this is going to be the mounting board for the Brook Universal Fight Board, and I will explain all of that here momentarily. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and see, there you go. just a mounting board. Let's go ahead and kind of set some of this stuff off to the side because we are not going to need it right at this very moment. The first thing that I'm going to do is grab my Phillips head screwdriver, grab these 4 standoffs, grab 4 of these little tiny screws, and then we're going to set these other ones off to the side. And we are going to insert the screw into one of these 4 holes, take the stand off, and just screw it into place like so. These just need to be finger tight. And let me go ahead and just zoom in a little bit so you guys can get a, whoops, wrong way, just kind of a better idea of what I'm doing here. All right. And we're going to just do the same thing for all 4. Now you're going to be tempted to want to mount the brook board, but don't. We're not ready for that yet. And you'll see why in a minute. All right. So it can't get any easier than this. Apparently it can. All right, there we go. And last but not least, the 4th one. Now these are going to be your main anchor points for your fight board when you install this into the Obsidian. So there you go. And we'll go ahead and set that off to the side. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to need to open the actual fight stick. So let's go ahead and zoom back out and grab the Obsidian over here. And let's go ahead and flip it over. Now, when you flip it over, you're going to be greeted by 6 screws here. So just grab your favorite Phillips head screwdriver and go ahead and just remove those 6 screws. Don't lose them. You will need them later. And all I'm doing is I'm just loosening them up right now. They're not going to come out because I don't have a magnet tip on my screwdriver. That's all right. Just make sure that if you do the same thing, when you lift the bottom plate off, the screws don't go flying, because I will tell you on one of my fight sticks, specifically my Qanba, that I used to build and design the Easy Mod, I may have lost 1 or 2 screws because I was being careless. Alright, so that should be good. So once you get the screws loose, you should just be able to grab at the seam and lift off. And if you can't, that means something's not all the way out. Alright, there we go. Now when you take it off, there is one cable under here that you got to be careful with, and that's the audio board cable. So let me see if I can flip this over and not lose all the screws, which I'm going to, I think. And there goes the cable door. Alright, so I found 1, 2. Alright, I think the rest just fell inside the case, so that's good. Just go ahead and pull these out by hand. Come on. Okay. Alright. Alright, now you just take this cable here, gently pull it, and then you'll separate the audio board from the cable, and you can set this off to the side because we don't need the bottom for right now. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is just get a better angle here. Is when you look inside, you're going to notice there's not a heck of a lot of room to work here, and this is one of the major design flaws with this case that I found, which really led us to have to kind of set up the Easy Mod the way we did. You'll notice that up here you have the main board. It's the only circuit board in the fight stick, and that takes care of all of the aux connections on the front, like PS and home and start and all that stuff. Takes your touchpad inputs, your USB, everything. So the big challenge with designing this Easy Mod was having to replace that. So it took almost a year to measure, cut, fit, prototype, and repeat to get this to make sure it fit right and worked properly. Unfortunately, when I reached out to Qanba to ask them if they would be willing to provide some specs, they declined, and it just made the process a lot longer. So there you go. All right, now, so to really get started, there's just a couple things you're going to want to do. I like to use these flush cutters, and I like to go ahead and clip all of these zip ties out of the way and just get rid of them, because they just make it difficult to install everything, and you're going to want to wire manage this when you're done anyways. So we'll go ahead and clip those. The good thing is these are not glued into place on the circuit board, so you can just clip and then unplug quite easily and set off to the side over here, and then just repeat with all of the other connectors. Now this connector here that I just disconnected, that was, if you recall, previously connected to the audio jack on the fight stick. The audio jack does not work with the universal fight board. It doesn't support audio, so you can take this, remove it, and set it aside, because you will not be using that part. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and disconnect these little 2-pin connectors here. These are the side LEDs, and when you pull them off the little mounting post, you'll see that there's some zip ties, so go ahead and clip those zip ties off. You'll replace those with some of your own later. And here's the second one up here. So we'll do that. Next, I'm going to go ahead and just pull the USB cable out. Now this is, be gentle here and grab it by the connector. Don't pull it by the wires, because these are very thin wires, and if you break those, your stick will not work. So we'll go ahead and set the USB cable off to the side as well. And all right, we've already disconnected that connector, so we'll go ahead and pull it off the mounting post and then clip the zip and set that off to the side. And then last but not least, well, excuse me, almost last, disconnect the joystick connector there. And then finally, we're going to remove the touchpad cable connector from the board. Now, fortunately, this is not terribly difficult. I like to use my fingernail, and then let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here for you guys and make that a little bit easier to see. All right, I don't trust my camera's autofocus, so I apologize. Now, I just like to grab with my fingernail, just gently open the 0 insertion force socket, which is kind of a misnomer because it's kind of a pain in the ass to open. But once you unclip it, the cable will just kind of slide out like that. And there you go. Now you've disconnected all of the cables from the main board, and you're almost ready to pull it out. Now, if you remember earlier, we had this board that we went ahead and hooked the post into to mount the brick board already. So where this is going to mount is going to be down here on these 2 posts like so, and you're going to want to mount it so it's pretty far in as possible, because what happens is the way the bottom is sloped here, after you stack the board, it's going to there could be clearance issues, so you want to try and get it not mashed in here, but slid up as close to the buttons as possible. It doesn't have to be exact, so don't worry, don't sweat it too much. But just know that there could be fitment issues if you try and get it all the way down here. I made sure that there were slots in here so that you had a little wiggle room to slide it up and down. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom back out. Now in the kit, you're going to get these 2 screws that they're like threaded screws that have a sharp point on one end. And those are going to be the screws that you use to screw them into the plastic post down here. So let's go ahead and you just take one, stick it in the hole basically. Grab your, oops, wrong screwdriver, line it up, and screw it into place like so. Get it started, grab the second one, and get that one started before you tie them all the way down. All right, like so. Now the good thing about this setup is there's a lot of ways you can cable manage everything in here. You can run wires under, you can run wires around, so it's really up to the imagination of the end user how you end up doing this. Heck, you could just leave a big old rat's nest of wires in there, and guess what? It's still going to work, so you should be good to go there. All right, so like I said earlier, I'm going to try and get these slid. I think a good rule of thumb is if you see this little plastic groove here, if you can get the edge of the board, just on this side of the edge, then you're not going to have any clearance issues. And so we've got that there like that, and I'm just going to screw these down until they're tight. And you're going to feel a little bit of resistance. That's because the posts, they're full of plastic, and the screw is cutting through that plastic and threading itself in, kind of like a wood screw, if you will, when you're building something. Don't go too hard. You don't need to mash this thing down. You don't need to squish the PCB. You just need to get it in there and make sure it's tight. And voila, we're good. All right, now at this point we can do one of two things. We can take our harnesses. We can plug them in. They're very clearly labeled on this mounting board. One says kick buttons, one says punch buttons. So the one with the brown, purple, orange, and black wire, that's the kicks. So we can take that and plug it in. Be sure to support the board because you don't want to push down and then break it. PCBs are just made out of fiberglass. They're not super strong, so be careful. And then do the same thing with the punch buttons. Just, again, hold underneath, support underneath, plug in the JST connector, and voila. And then you can kind of just set these wires off to the side. Then grab the lever and do the exact same thing with the lever connector here, and voila. Okay, so major connections are made up, so that's good. And like I said, we'll cable manage this later, but I just want to get these plugged in so y'all could see it. We're gonna just set all this off to the side, and actually I'm going to fix this because I want the lever to kind of ride between the buttons here. And I don't know what Qanba did here, but that's weird. Come on, guys. All right, let me see. I guess I could just, well, we'll deal with that later. All right. What they did is they routed the quick disconnects for the buttons through the joystick lever wire. So we'll have to fix that. All right, there we go. All in the name of keeping things clean. There we go. Okay. And we'll do the same thing with the purple or the kick 2 button. Get that out of the way. There we go. Much better. Now you could start cable managing at this point, but I find that if I do, it's typically going to require cutting and putting them back in, and so it's just a waste of a bunch of zip ties. So I'm gonna wait until I get everything kind of set before I start cable managing. All right, so there we go. Just had to get those back in. All right, so there's the meat of it. Now, the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to remove the stock board from the top up here. You'll notice that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws that hold it in place. So just carefully remove them. You do need to reuse all of them. And you want to try and reuse them in the same order you took them out. So I am going to set mine off to the side and just very carefully make sure that I put them in the order I take them out. Now you're going to want to save this board, set it off to the side, just in case you decide that you don't want your fight stick to be fast and modded for everything, I guess. So don't lose this. That's my number one bit of advice and recommendation for you guys. All right, and 2 more. Now, this will go much faster on your end. I'm going slow. I want to make sure I do this deliberately so everyone sees all the major steps. So don't be worried that this is a very in-depth process. All right. So now that we've got the 6 screws removed, you can just kind of grab the board and you kind of just have to lift it and kind of pull it out of its little home down there. And when you lift it out, you're going to notice that there's a bunch of little membrane switches and slide switches down there. Don't let those fall out. You do need to use all those. And then finally, when you flip this board over, you need to remove this membrane switch that is attached to the PCB. Now, be very careful when you do this, because if you aren't and you rip one of the little legs off, this is going to be a huge pain in the butt, because you need this to activate the PS button, and if the 2 legs aren't there when you install it on the EasyMod board, it's going to move around, and you may find that it's not always hitting the PlayStation button when you push it. How do I know this? It happened to me during the assembly and testing of the first couple EasyMods. I managed to rip the leg off, and that was about a $150 mistake, because instead of trying to go find more of these, I just bought another fight stick because it was faster. So don't do what Jason did, and be careful. All right, now when you're pulling it out, you kind of just have to grab it and pull gently. Don't pull super hard, and like I said, just kind of watch it as you're pulling, because you don't want to rip the leg off. So just go slow, and usually the first one's fine. It's that second one you're like, oh, that was easy, and then you yank it out, and you go too fast, and you have the problem, because that's how I did it. So just, again, slow, pull it out, and voila, you're good to go. Now, set this board off to the side. Like I said, save it in case you ever want to revert back to stock. Again, not sure why you'd want to, but you could. Now, this is the fun part, because it's starting to come together. Grab the EasyMod board, the main one. There's a couple things you're going to want to do right now before you screw it in, because it's going to save you time and energy, effort, headaches, whatever you want to say later. First and foremost is the touchpad connector. This is a very sensitive piece. Be very careful with it. If you break it, you can't fix it unless you can micro solder. And most people who are building fight sticks and doing these EasyMods, they're doing it because they don't want to solder. So it's probably best to unclick it now before you put it in. And again, same technique as the other board that we had to take this cable off of, but it's not quite as thick, so just be careful and do it gently. Again, I just use the fingernail technique, like so, and you kind of go from one edge to the other, and you'll feel it click, and that's it. That's all you have to do. And let me see if I can't zoom in for you guys so you can, what's the wrong way? See it? Here you go. There you go. So that's what it's going to look like, just like that, clipped out. It doesn't come all the way out. Don't try. The cable will just slide in, and you click that back, and voila, it's going to be locked in place. So that's what it should look like. Now, basically, what I was concerned with is these arms right here, those little plastic ones that are kind of hard to see. That's what breaks. When they break, you can't click this back into place, and the cable will come out, and that's a problem. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom back out here. Get back to work. All right. Now, the next part we're going to do is we're going to take this rubber membrane switch that we removed earlier, and this is the PlayStation contact here, the PlayStation button contact. We're going to just take that, set it in place, and just push it down. Now, when you hold it like this, it should stay in place. The manufacturing tolerances of the PCBs, I didn't want to make the holes too small and have to force you to like pull these things through and risk ripping them off. So I did make the holes so that these were a little bit loose fit. Once you bolt the PCB down, it's not going to go anywhere because the friction from the plastic is going to hold it in place, and the legs are going to prevent it from moving side to side, up and down. But yeah. So once you kind of just put that there and you hold it in place, it's going to stay just long enough that you can take this and you can line it up down here with the case screws. And this is this isn't hard. You just kind of have to set it down, kind of not wedge it in place, but push it down into place. And probably the hardest part is these dang slide switches and making sure they get lined up with the switches on the easy mod. Okay, so that should be pretty good right there. All right, so we got that down. Now we'll take those screws that we removed earlier and we're gonna reinstall them. And I'm gonna start with the middle because that kind of holds everything in place, and then we can work our way out. I wish they would have done a black board, a black PCB on the stock board, because I think it just looks cooler. Like the black case with the black PCB just looks way better. All right. Cool. All right, so now we got that in. Now we can kind of just look at the general alignment, and then we can, this is kind of the finesse part of this whole thing, is once you get it installed, now you got to kind of work the switches up here to make sure that they're all the way in. Because if they're not all the way in, then some of the buttons may not, they may fit loose. So you just kind of have to and we're going to just go ahead and install the rest of the screws. And I'm going to loose fit all of them because I want to be able to maneuver the board a little bit so I can loosen these middle ones up a smidge. It's important that you actually line up the screws. Okay. Oh no. There we go. I'm having terrible luck today. I apologize, everybody. I really do need to invest in some magnetic tip screwdrivers. I keep saying that every time I stream and I drop a screw or something. I was like, I really wish I had the magnetic screwdrivers, and I still have yet to go buy any. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, so now we got that in. You'll notice that when you flip this over, this LED button over here that controls the side LEDs, it's a little loose. That's just because we got to get the circuit board aligned better inside. This over here on the left, it's not quite pushed down all the way, so. There we go. And I missed it. Damn it. I got next to the standoff, not in the standoff. So it wasn't tightening. There we go. And we just tighten the rest down. Again, now that we got it all aligned and ready to go. You don't need to crank these down, please don't, because again, you don't want to crack the circuit board or you know, just or over tighten anything, because that's bad. We look and voila. Now we've got, oops, that switch is a little tight. Fortunately, this switch doesn't actually do anything. All right, so we're good to go there. And we can actually, if we want to relieve some pressure on that switch, we'll just loosen those screws a little bit and kind of just get this lined up whichever way you want it, up or down. This the PlayStation 4, 3, and PC switch doesn't actually do anything, but we had to put a switch behind it as kind of a dummy switch just so that this little nodule thing didn't fall out. The lock switch does work though. All right. So there we go. Now we can again just check all our screws again because we did loosen that one. It should be fine. Good to go. Now now's the fun part. Let's go ahead and finish wiring this bad boy up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the ribbon cable for the touchpad, and I'm going to just get that installed in the socket first so that we don't have to worry about that anymore. This is the most precarious of the connections, I think. So push it in until it doesn't go anymore. Hold it in place and then lock it, and you're good to go. A very gentle tug will show that you're good to go, and it's not going to come disconnected. Now we can go ahead and use the post and plug the side LED in. Fortunately, you can use all the exact same kind of routing because I tried to make sure all of these were in the exact same, or as close to the exact same position they were on the stock board. It just makes things easier. And finally, we'll go ahead and take the USB, and this is going to be not hard. It's just, you know, a thing that you have to do is put it in and then reconnect it here. Okay, so there you go. Just a little bit of finesse, and you're ready and off to the races. Okay, now comes the good part and the fun part, because we're almost done. Let's go ahead and grab our wiring here. And the first thing we'll do is we're going to interlink the boards for the USB. So right here, you plug it in like so, like that. Then you can just kind of route it around over here. That's what I do, like that. Just pull a little tight and plug it in like so. All right, and let me make sure this cable is not exactly reversible, so let me make sure I put it in the right way, so I can make sure we're all on the same page, because we don't want to have to open this up when it doesn't work, because again, that happened to me. All right, let's see. Red, white, green, and black. All right, so when you're looking up here, red, white, green, black, and then down here, black, green, white, and then red, so we're good to go. All right. Hey, 8-Bit Blues, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. We are just wrapping up the install of the Qanba Obsidian Easy Mod, or getting close to wrapping it up at least. All right. Now, the next cable we're going to use, we'll use this gray one. We'll go ahead and get this installed. This is going to interlink your share and start and PlayStation button. So we'll click that down into place like so, like that. And we can wrap this around. And again, don't worry too much about cable management at this very moment because we're going to have to redo all this anyways to make it look clean, so not a big deal. All right, so we'll go ahead and plug that in. Again, support the board underneath, like so. All right, and just kind of wrap these just to get them out of the way, like that, or not. All right, fine, cables. Don't play nice. Oh yeah, I do remember that Action Bastard. That's one of those. That is one of the very first wrapped sticks I ever did. Awesome. I'm glad you're still enjoying it. That's fantastic. Cool. All right. Now, again, we're just going to go down the line. And now we'll install these little green wires like so. Push that down. Then we'll grab the little blue wires. Push that down. Now, most of these are all pretty much interchangeable, so it doesn't really matter, but or it shouldn't really matter. But just for a simple guide's sake, USB, gray, green, blue, the yellow goes here, like so. Of course, I had to use a different connector for some reason. And then last but not least, the white cable. Now, the white cable, really, you don't, I'll be honest with you, you don't have to install it. This is linking all the touchpad stuff up to the Brook board where the touchpad was going to be implemented. Well, Brook never implemented it, so you don't technically need it. But we're going to install it because it came in the kit, and I'm a completion guy. So, there you go. All right, now this yellow cable and this white cable, they're going to go on this side of the Brook board, so what we can do to kind of make the install look clean is we can set those wires down like this, and just kind of, when we stack the Brook board, it'll kind of make cable management easier. So, and Captain Ahab, hey, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. It has been months, yes, I know, and I'm super happy that everyone's joining me and checking this out. All right, so yeah, it feels good to be back, and when you watch the VOD later, you'll get some intro stuff about how I don't really like my setup right now because it takes too much time to set up and work on. All right, now this is the Brook Universal Fight Board that comes in the kit. It's going to be pre-soldered. There's a couple things. You got the female connectors here. You got the male connectors up here that we're going to use. Excuse me. So all we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to run these wires underneath the board. We're going to line them up, the female connectors to the male pins. And I apologize, I'll try and keep my fat, bald head out of the way here for you guys. And just line them up like so. And then gently press down. Again, hold the bottom of the board so that you're not mashing it. And there you go. Now we're off to the races. At this point, we can go ahead and connect this white wire like so to this connector. Again, you don't have to if you choose not to. And then we're going to connect this yellow wire here, and that's going to let us switch modes for the lever between left stick, right stick, and direction pad mode. And now we're like, oh my god, look at all these wires. But we really only have 2 left to connect. So now is probably a good time to start thinking cable management. Now, I apologize for that. The kit doesn't come with any zip ties, but I am a firm believer that if you are modding stuff or you're even remotely techie, you should always have a stash of zip ties available. So let me grab mine because I'm going to need them. Now, admittedly, I did go back to the United States for a couple days, or actually just one day, one night and one day for work. And when I was there, I realized hey, I need to buy some zip ties because these things are really expensive in Japan, and I couldn't find a huge bag like this. So before I went back to the airport to fly home, I stopped at Home Depot and I bought a giant bag of zip ties. So yes, I'm gonna just grab a bunch. You're not gonna need that many, but I like to have a bunch. All right, so now all we have to do is kind of just start grabbing wires and making a nice, neat bundle. There's about 150,000 ways you can do this. I'll leave this up to you. I'm just going to show you the way I do it because it's the way I do it. You guys can either say, hey, that works, or nope, not for me. All right. So, yeah, so there's a couple places over here that you can pick up kind of electronic type stuff. You can go all the way into Akihabara, which is about an hour and a half from where I live, by train, which is easy to get to. Or you can go to D2, you can go to Homes, you can go to Live-In, but they all sell like small bags. The zip ties aren't super great, and they're pretty expensive for what they are, for what you get. So I just thought it was easier to grab a bag when I was home. And because of the way I'm stationed over here, I can get things shipped via USPS. I just didn't want to wait, so I picked them up. I have yet to go to the 100 yen store. It's right near the train station that I get off of when I go to work, but I'm always there at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm always leaving at like 6 o'clock at night, and I just want to go home, so I have yet to stop. Okay. Now, enough of the Japanese adventures for right now. Let's get back to cable management here, because that's really what you guys want to see, is this thing working. So I'm just going through and making a nice trunk of wires, if you will, that are connecting all these things up. And you'll notice that I'm kind of using the built-in standoffs of the case, the plastic reinforcements, to route cables around. It just makes it easy, get them kind of out of the way, and provides a nice little guide, if you will, to wrap the cables around. Yeah, so not terribly complex, just a little time consuming, and over time you just kind of get, I don't know if anyone ever gets really great at cable management. You just kind of get decent at it, I think. All right. Whoops. Let's see here. Whoops. Ooh, all right. I was worried last night. It was thunderstorming really bad, like lightning, thunder. I haven't heard that since I've moved here, and I was really hoping it was going to be nice today. And fortunately, it is. My main concern was you'd be able to hear it all through the real thin walls, and it'd be picked up on the microphone. All right, so we got a pretty good trunk. The Easy Mod wires are easy to cable mod. It's all this other stuff that's kind of a pain. So let's go ahead and kind of work through that. Let's see if we can do this cleanly. Yikes. All right, here we go. It's like, pick your poison. Which way do you want to start? All right. And yeah, I recognize this is the boring part of the Easy Mod, but you know, it's kind of important because I'm a huge proponent of, you know, taking your time and making sure something's clean and done well, and you know, that's kind of why I make the Easy Mods the way I do, because I want it to be as clean of a build as possible. You know, you're gonna kind of get stuck at some point where the limitations of just what you're provided by the case manufacturer or the stick manufacturer provides, kind of like we're dealing right now with these dang wires for the buttons, but it's all good. You just kind of make do and then call it a day. All right, now I'm working back on the lever wiring harness here. All right. Now, if you guys aren't subscribed to my Twitch channel, I would definitely encourage you all to do that. I've got a whole host and a whole mess of things that I want to stream and kind of get out there. I want to do some live streams from Akihabara using my phone, and I definitely want to do some kind of not breaking down the stick episodes per se, because those require a lot of editing and some in-depth stuff, but just some opening of fight sticks that I pick up on my random adventures here in Japan and whatnot. So if you click that subscribe button, you're going to get notified every time I go live, and I'm going to try and stick to a Saturday morning stream schedule, because that puts it right in the evening on Friday for you guys in the States. So yeah, that, and I was working on some really fun, cool, like animation things last night, so hopefully they still work for subscribers and stuff like that. Other things I'm considering starting up a Patreon so that I can start doing more breaking down the stick episodes. I found that if you want to be completely impartial and give an honest opinion on a fight stick, it tends to make fight stick manufacturers a little hesitant, if you will, to work with you, because they may not agree with the outcome of your discussion, and they may not understand the technical discussions that you get into. So the idea is, if I do set up a Patreon or something like that, or even try and get YouTube monetization set up, the idea is that's gonna help purchase these fight sticks that I break down, tear down, and kind of do reviews on. And having access to a bunch of cool stuff in Japan, I think there's a lot of old stuff that I'll be able to get and show off too. So that's kind of where my head's at with regards to all of that. So I'm still kind of deciding, if I could 100% fund all this through Panzer Fight Stick sales, that would be the best. But unfortunately, that is not the case quite yet. So, all right, now the next thing that we're going to do is we need to hook up the blue and the green wire. The blue wire is your touchpad, your L3 and your R3, and so that connects right over here. Oops, I gotta get this wire out of the way, it's driving me crazy. And I should be able to route it under the board anyway. Okay, kind of like that. All right, so green wire comes up and like installs kind of just like this. Side entry, blah, blah. And then the blue wire, that's going to be your turbo key and such. And that just kind of installs like so. Now, you may have to push the USB wire out of the way so that the side entry types can fit. Doing a vertical entry would have been easier for fit, but the case may not have closed, so yeah. All right, so there you go. There's this. There is all of your random wiring kind of pushed down between the buttons out of the way, and there you go. Easy mod almost finished. Next thing we got to do is go ahead and install these screws that hold everything kind of sandwiched down together. And again, be gentle. You don't have to go ham on these. Cool. Okay, yes, will I be breaking down my TE? Yes, I will be breaking down my TE that was once formerly your TE. There's a lot of information on the TE already, so it's probably lower on my list of things to do, but I've got a Dragon up there, I've got a TE, I've got an Obsidian, I've got... Oh my gosh, I got all sorts of stuff. I got a Saturn stick that I want to upgrade. So I got a lot of stuff in the works. I want to do a Panthera. Yeah, there's excuse me, lots of stuff that I want to be able to break down. I just got to have the time to do it. I did order a ton of new, very expensive cinema lenses for my Lumix GH4 camera that I film everything on, so that should create some really nice, clean, new ways to do videos. So I'm looking forward to those showing up. All right, let's see. I think that we should be good to go there. So now what we'll do is, so you'll kind of see how the full thing looks. Looks pretty good to me. All the wires are out of the way. We shouldn't have any issues fitting the bottom back on. But before you button anything up, you always want to flip it over, grab your favorite computer, or your only computer. Maybe it's your favorite, I don't know. Plug it in, and we're going to run some joy.jpl, and go ahead and test it out. Now, this camera that you are seeing here, that is just a Lumix G7. They're about $400, and they do have this lens is interchangeable. Don't mind my giant hand. So you can put all sorts of cool stuff on it. It will record 4K onto the digital card inside. But it will put out, and it puts out 4K over HDMI, but it's a little laggy. So I actually have it outputting 1080p, and I use an Epiphan AV.io USB or HDMI to USB adapter. No drivers are required. They're pretty expensive. They're probably the same price as this camera, but it's a heck of a lot better than, say, this camera, which is just my, Logitech, crappy 1080p, webcam, if you will. The key to making this one look good is having a lot of good light around you. So I actually have a light right here, which is just a big softbox, and another light over here, which is a nice softbox that you actually have to tweak the settings on to make it look this good. But yeah. Anyways, let's go back to the build cam here. Yodobashi Camera does sell cameras. They have a schwack of cameras, and they are pretty expensive, which sucks because every time I go, I want to buy another one. I actually almost bought one yesterday. Not at Yodobashi, just at the exchange. Alright. Alright, so we got all the wires set up right, because it definitely says it's found my controller. Alright, come on. There we go. Alright, there we go. Xbox One, and let's test this thing out. Okay, that's good. Unlock that. Interesting. Alright, sorry. Just testing all the buttons and making sure I got everything set up right here. Okay, the LEDs work, good to go. LEDs work, good to go. This switch doesn't really do anything. Okay. Alright, so I think I have a cable connected backwards in here. That stinks. So what's happening is it shows that the touchpad's locked in, so I think I've got a cable plugged in backwards. Not a big deal. Disconnect it. By not a big deal, I mean I have to cut all my zip ties now and swap it around. It happens. I think this exact same thing happened to me the first time I built it. So earlier I was like, oh, we're not going to cable manage until we're all done. Well, we should have listened to me instead of cable managed and then tested. When you cable manage first, inevitably something's not going to work. All right. So basically the touchpad button was locked in. So we need to find Here we go, the blue wire. We'll just disconnect the blue wire here. Disconnect the blue wire here. Oh, wait. That's why. Oh, I'm a goon. So, I got the blue wire and green wire on this side backwards. What a schmuck. Alright. I'm glad I can learn these lessons for you guys. Alright, so let's just pull that out. Pull that out. Alright. There we go. Blue wire there and green wire here. Because the green wire up here, it says it's the turbo button, and the blue, and I just had them backwards. What a jagwagon. Alright. Now, we could theoretically go ahead and cable manage, but we're not going to. Alright, so very important. Blue wire goes here, green wire here. Don't swap those. Not like I did. Everything will work except your touchpad, your L3, and your R3. Alright. So, yeah, the Yodobashi, in general, technology in Japan isn't super cheap. And where I shop is typically, you know, they're in the cities. You know, Yokohama, for example, not a huge tourist spot, but they do have, you know, big stores like Yodobashi, Bic, etc. So, hey, look, now it works. Cool. Okay, cool. I apologize. I'm just going through and testing the buttons now. Cool. I guess I could share this with you guys. Should I share it? Yeah, I'll share it. Let me see if I can figure it out. I actually had to make the shift to XSplit because for some reason my OBS would not load anything up, and it was driving me crazy. I couldn't physically get OBS to open. I updated a bunch of stuff, nothing. So, yeah. Oh, let's see. Alright, so here we go. I'm just going to have to do this. I apologize. I was not prepared to do this. Okay. Alright, so now you guys should be seeing the joystick over here. That's the Windows Joystick Properties tab. You open it by running joy.cpl, like control panel link. And we'll go ahead and test everything out. So if the screen's not active, it doesn't work, so that's pretty awesome. So we actually have this, I hit the mode button and it put it into, I think that's left stick mode. If I hit it again, there it goes into right stick mode. If I hit it one more time, now it goes to POV or D-pad mode. So there you go. And then obviously all our buttons here work. Cool. Our touchpad click. Got a PlayStation button. That actually doesn't show up here because it tries to open Game Center, so you didn't see that, but I did see that on my screen. Share button. You'll notice that in Xbox One mode, share and touchpad click are the same. If we hold this down and then hit the turbo button, now we have turbo, so we'll shut that off. L3, R3, options or start, and then let me see if we can capture this on film. Or on stream. So LEDs are off right now, and if I hit the LED button, you may have caught that a little bit. It turned them on, turn it, and then off. So on and off, on and off. There you go. And then you'll notice that this switch here, like I said, the PS4, PS3, PC switch, it doesn't work. Don't even try. It doesn't do anything. It's just there. You can't remove it. Otherwise, it looks silly because you got a holder. But the lock button, go up to lock like that. Guess what? None of this stuff up here works anymore because I locked it out. Unlock, and now it works again. So, yeah. The touchpad works because I didn't run touchpad click through it, but your touchpad's not going to cause you to forfeit a match. So go to unlock, and all this stuff works again. Easy. And then when you go to lock like that, guess what? None of it works. All right, so unlock, good to go. Now, you'll notice that... we don't have this thing back together, but for all intents and purposes, this was a pretty straightforward install. I think everyone's going to be happy with it. I really, really wish that Qanba would have been willing to work with us on it a little bit, because I could have gotten it done sooner. We could have gotten it out better. It would have the fitment of it would be spot on. Whereas it fits and it's fine. It's but you can tell that it was made aftermarket. So yeah, the overall, I would say that this mod is definitely worth it if you have a Obsidian already. I don't recall the exact price that this kit is on Arcade Shock's website, but if I had to guess, I think it's like $130-ish or $140 maybe. So when you factor the cost of the stick plus the cost of the easy mod, you're kind of getting into territory of, was it worth buying, or would it have been a better choice to get something custom? That's up to you to decide. Some people are going to really enjoy this form factor, and that's why they're going to do this, because they want this form factor, but they also want the benefits of having a faster PCB, a more reliable PCB, a more universally compatible PCB. So, power to you guys. Hopefully this guide was pretty easy to follow, and you guys will have a lot of success installing this for yourselves if you decide to go this route. But would I recommend it? Yes, 100%. If you have an Obsidian, do this mod. You are going to be happy with it. It is going to be better than the stock board. If you're happy just using PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, then this easy mod probably isn't for you, only because the gains aren't really going to be seen. Yes, the Brook board is going to be faster than the stock board, but are you playing at such a high level that you need that? That's up to you to decide. A lot of times it's more important to work on execution than it is to spend a bunch of money on new things to make it better, because you take the best golfer in the world and you give him a shitty set of golf clubs, he's going to do fine. You give a shitty golfer the best set of golf clubs in the world, they're still going to be a shitty golfer. So I think that has some relevance to fighting game equipment as well. Now, obviously, if you're a mediocre player and you have a stick that you push a button and 3 seconds later in input registers, that's a huge difference. But we're not quite there with the hardware these days. I think companies are doing pretty good when it comes to designing things and making things work. But there is no doubt about it. The Brook Universal Fight Board is hands down better than anything that the commercial fight stick makers are putting in their fight sticks. So, yeah, I would say, if you're an Obsidian owner, definitely do this mod if you want to improve your stick and you want to get to that next level, or you're on your way to that next level, because it's super worth it, in my opinion. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and get off our soapbox of talking about whether this is a valuable mod or not. If it wasn't, I wouldn't have done it, but I digress. We're going to put everything back together. We're going to cable mod the crap out of this again. And see, this is why I grabbed so many zip ties, because I knew I was going to need them. And then we'll go ahead and close the stick up, and you guys will see that once it's done, you kind of have a sleeper. No one's going to know that you got this done until they say, hey, why aren't you putting it in PlayStation 4 mode? And you're like, yeah, don't worry about it. All right. All right, so we'll just slide that down like that. And let me actually unplug the USB. I don't need... All right, hold on. Okay, I think we're good now. I apologize. Oh my god, how embarrassing. Although it wouldn't be one of my streams if I didn't muck up something random, right? Oh my god. Okay, so I apologize. I apologize profusely. I reached over, I unplugged my microphone instead of the Obsidian because both cables look the exact same. And I kind of mucked this, I just kind of set this one up randomly today because I actually bought a new shotgun mic that goes into my mixer, and it's just too far away to get a good full sound unless I'm like right up on it. So I apologize for that. But now we're back. We can finish this up, and what we're gonna do is, of course, the cable door popped off, and it looks like. It looks like, so this was the Arcade Shock sent me this stick to mod, and they said, hey, go ahead and put the easy mod in this, do a stream on it for us if you can. We'll send you one that we've opened up and we've mucked around with, and well, the cable door's broken on it. I feel like this is a huge, this is not only Qanba, this is everybody. You put these damn cable doors on fight sticks and they always break because it's this little plastic nubbin. So yeah. Anyways. So that will not stay in place. So we'll just go ahead and plop this back down. So you're going to see that as we put this back down, it's going to fit, no problems. Nothing's going to interfere. Everything's going to go smoothly, right? Probably not. All right, get in there. There we go. Voila, voila. Easy day. And now we just do the reinstall. All right. And of course, so you remember when I said, hey, don't lose a screw? I found it. Thank God I put these little carpet squares down. I put light carpet squares down that you can kind of see down over here on my wood floor. And they make finding dark screws really easy. So I think what happens with these is it's a pretty tight fit, and then if you're opening and closing a plastic case and door, over time plastic's just gonna fail. It happens. All right. Come on. Oh. You can't put a screw where you've already put a screw. Doesn't work. As I'm like flinging this thing around like it's no big deal. Normally, so if you guys remember my last stream setup, I actually had, so you see this table up here, I actually had two of them, one here and then one here. The one back there housed all my equipment, kind of like it's doing now, and the one in front was like my work area. It had a nice rubber pad down and everything. It was awesome. Well, unfortunately, I didn't have the room to bring it, so the second one's in storage. So this is my Rolly tool chest that goes underneath, so I slid it out to use it as a worktop today. So, all right. So there we go. Everything's back in and installed. We'll kind of put the cable door back on, I guess, like this. There we go. And once it's clipped in, it's good to go. All right, so there you go. There it is. You could barely tell that we modded it. So go ahead and might as well plug it back in and check it out one more time just to make sure that I didn't goon anything up as I reinstalled it. All right. Yep, and there it is. Good to go. Yes. Cool. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, there we go. So I'm pretty happy with it. So there's a couple things that obviously aren't going to work on this thing. And by a couple things that aren't going to work, let me go ahead and get my ugly mug back on stream. So the Easy Mod takes care of everything with this stick. The touchpad tracking, like I said earlier, the Universal Fight Board doesn't support it, so you're not going to get that with the Easy Mod. You do lose that functionality. Additionally, you do lose the use of the headphone jack because the Universal Fight Board doesn't have audio out. Is it a huge deal? I don't think so. I think a lot of people are going to nice headsets with headset amplifiers and stuff like that. So I think that's probably less of a deal for most people. And if you're putting the Universal Fight Board in, you know that already. You know it doesn't support audio, so you're not you know and expect that going in. The PS4, PS3, PC switch, it becomes a placeholder. It doesn't do anything. I couldn't figure out a good use for it, so I didn't even bother doing anything with it. It's only there to keep the little plastic switch that comes installed on these stock in place. It would have been really nice if Qanba would have made that an auto detect type thing. I think, and I have to believe that's probably something to do with Sony's license, saying you have to do that so that it forces a mode. If Brooke and a lot of other people can figure out how to do auto detect, I think a multi-million-dollar corporation like 8-Arc Qanba could do the same thing. So I trust that that's probably something to do with Sony's licensing. Other than that, there is no... I couldn't get the proper LED to indicate different colors for your mode. So when you hit the mode select switch and change your lever from left stick, right stick, or D-pad mode, you're not going to know what mode it's in per se because there's no visual indication. Now, we get around that on things like the Panzer by using a toggle switch, and you can physically see what position the toggle switch is in. Unfortunately, with these momentary push buttons, you need to have another LED indication of some sort to show what mode it's in. Unfortunately, the way Qanba designed the case, there's a very specific LED in size and mounting height you have to use to make sure it kind of fits up into the little plastic molded housing, if you will, that shines through the lens. I probably did 3 or 4 prototypes with different ones trying to get it just right. And unfortunately, without actually getting Qanba's help to design the board so it was exactly placed where it needed to be, it didn't happen. I could have went back and forth a couple more iterations. Unfortunately, every time you do a prototype board, assemble it by the parts, it gets pretty expensive. So ultimately, the Easy Mod price would have just gone so high that it wouldn't have been useful or valuable for anyone to implement. Additionally, the same kind of thing with the turbo button. We could have used some surface mount LEDs, but they would have been really far from the lens in the case, and what that would have meant was you'd have had a lot of light bleed, so it would have been very, not an awkward indication, it would have been a very poor indication, and you may not have even seen it anyway. The little lenses are super, super tiny, so unless the bulb is right next to it, you're not going to see it. So you won't have those visual indications. Other than that, everything else works. You hit the LED button, the side LEDs light up on the stick, you hit it again, they shut off. That's a simple on-off. I think the stock one, it had a couple different brightnesses. Maybe I could never figure out what it was doing. I would just look and like, hey, the LED's on, or oh, hey, the LEDs are off. So now it's just on or off. Ultimately, I think those LEDs end up failing over time, and one of my followers, Doc Jamma, his was actually shocking him, so he had to actually just disconnect it. unfortunately, that's a function of the way the little side lights are designed, not necessarily the way the main board is designed. So you only get the 2 brightnesses with the easy mod. More often than not, I think people just leave that off because it's kind of just a gimmicky thing anyhow. PlayStation button and all the other stuff works as expected. You can put the lever into left stick, right stick, or directional pad mode, but more often than not, you leave it in direction pad mode because that's what you use when you play fighting games. You can put it in left analog stick mode and it'll do the same thing, and you can put it in right analog stick mode and it'll control the training dummy in Street Fighter 5 and 4 in the training setups, but you leave it stock direction pad and you're going to be fine. That's what I do. That's what I think 95% of the community does anyways. There's no real benefit between left stick and D-pad mode. It all registers the exact same way. Hopefully you guys saw how easy this was, and hopefully you guys decide that you want to buy one of these and upgrade your Obsidian as well. I think it's the closest that you're going to be able to get to having all the benefits of a custom stick, because you can put the universal fight board in there if you already have the chassis, and if something happens and your board fails or your Obsidian's for some reason slow or whatever, this is going to be a nice upgrade for that. So I hope you guys found this informative. I hope you guys head over to arcadeshock.com and pick it up. Definitely hit a follow on Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch, Jason's Customs, and it's at Jason's Customs /Jason's Customs. All pretty straightforward. The links are down here anyways. Also, big shout out to Arcade Shock. They are an excellent partner, and since I've moved over to Japan, they've been doing a phenomenal job getting my stuff shipped out on time and quickly. So the team over there, awesome, thanks. Make sure you support them. Again, link down here, arcadeshock.com. You can use coupon code Jason, Jasen, and save money on a lot of things that you're going to want to buy over there anyhow. And make sure that you support those guys just as much as you do me, and I appreciate it. So again, this is Jason. This was the Qanba Obsidian Easy Mod install with the Brook Universal Fight Board. I appreciate it that everyone joined me today, and I'm going to make sure that we export this to YouTube so everyone can watch all the trials and tribulations I went through today to install this, which weren't many, just mostly me not paying attention because I'm trying to talk to you guys, and you guys can have a great and easy install for this as well. So until next time when I pull something else apart and show you guys what I find inside, this is Jason signing off, and thanks. Catch y'all later.
JasonsCustoms.com. For the community, for the win.